Isn't this just a perfect scene? Right over my shoulder, we've got clear blue skies, not a cloud in sight. And down on the field, it's the reigning Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, getting after it at OTAs in South Philly. The grass is cut, the pads are popping, and the tone for the upcoming season is already being set. And listen, I've got to get something off my chest right out of the gate. I'm fired up today. Fired up because I'm ready for battle. Ready to go to war with every team in the NFC East. If you hate the Cowboys, the Giants, and those guys over in Washington as much as I do, then do me a favor. Say it loud, say it proud. Go Birds, every day, all day. That's the mindset. No, one likes us. We don't care, and honestly, that's exactly the way we like it. Now, let's get into what's going on at Eagles OTAs, because there's a ton of news. And a few developments could have some major implications heading into training camp and eventually week 1. First off, defensive coordinator Vic Fangio spoke with the media today, and there were a few nuggets worth diving into, starting with rookie linebacker Jihad Campbell. The Eagles selected him with a 31st overall pick in the first round, and while fans are eager to see him take the field, we're gonna have to wait. Fangio confirmed that Campbell won't be participating in practice drills until August, as he continues recovering from that shoulder injury he picked up, specifically a labrum issue. But Fangio didn't stop there. He added something pretty interesting. Even though Campbell has some serious pass rushing upside, and coming out of high school he was actually considered one of the top edge rusher prospects in the entire country, the plan right now is to start him off at inside linebacker. Why? Because according to Fangio, there's just more to learn at that position. And listen, when a guy like Vic says that, you pay attention. The man knows defense like few others. He sees Campbell more as an off-ball linebacker, and honestly, that might be the best use of his talent right now. That's how Alabama used him last year, and he looked really good in that role. He was fluid, he was disciplined, and he made plays sideline to sideline. Now, just to clarify, Campbell has been out on the field during OTAs, but he's not participating in drills yet. He was wearing a helmet, which is a good sign compared to earlier stages of the offseason program like rookie minicamp. And Fangio was seen working directly with him, one-on-one stuff, trying to get him up to speed mentally, even while he's not physically taking reps. That's exactly what you want to see from a coaching staff investing in their young guys. While we're on the topic of the defense, let's talk about Cooper DeJean. Fangio spoke glowingly about the versatile defensive back, and it sounds like he sees him as a major piece of this puzzle. Cooper is primarily working at the nickel spot right now, and Fangio said he thinks that's where DeJean's skills can really shine. But in base packages, he's also taking snaps outside at corner. The coach even mentioned safety as another position where he thinks DeJean could eventually thrive. Now, if you watch DeJean play at Iowa, you know what kind of athlete we're dealing with. He's fast, ran the 40-yard dash in the low 4.4s. He's twitchy, explosive, and has great instincts. But what separates him is that he's not limited to just one role. He can cover in the slot, he can run with tight ends, and he can even match up against running backs out of the backfield. Against a guy like Travis Kelce in the Super Bowl, he held his own on a critical 2-point try. And that's not even mentioning what he brings as a blitzer and run defender. The man is a Swiss Army knife. And when you've got a guy who can do that many things at a high level, it opens up the playbook in a big way. Meanwhile, at outside corner, there are a few interesting developments. Kaylee Ringo has been getting first-team reps, and so has Adoree Jackson. That's a trend that's carried over from the last few weeks. Eli Ricks, the long and rangy undrafted free agent from last year, has also been getting some looks with the starters. And then there's Quinion Mitchell, who the Eagles traded up to snag in the first round this year. He's already penciled in as one of the starting corners, and after the season he had in college, it's easy to see why. In fact, Pro Football Focus had him graded as one of the top corners in all of football last season, and the Eagles are expecting him to make an even bigger impact in year 2. Speaking of cornerbacks, the nickel position behind DeJean is still wide open. Avonte Maddox, the veteran who held that role for years, is now with the Detroit Lions, and honestly, I think a lot of people took his contributions for granted. So who's in the mix now? Well, Perry Nickerson has been getting some snaps there, and so has Deantra Prince, who the Eagles took in the draft out of UCF. Prince has elite speed, ran a 4.3, 4.4 range, and although he played mostly On the outside and in college, there's a belief he might be better suited for the slot in the pros. He's still developing, but the tools are there. At safety, the competition next to Reed Blankenship is shaping up to be one of the more intense position battles of the summer. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's departure left a void, and Vic Fangio mentioned a few names in contention: Sidney Brown, Andrew Mukuba, Tristan McCollum, and Andre Sam. Brown is a guy I like a lot, plays with serious aggression and energy. Blankenship actually described him as playing like Crash Bandicoot. And honestly, that's spot on. He's a downhill thumper who's not afraid to make contact. Mukuba is another intriguing option. Drafted out of Texas in the second round, he's a little undersized, but he plays bigger than his frame suggests. He's physical, has good ball skills, and he's shown some nice instincts in coverage. He only started playing deep safety recently, but you wouldn't know it watching him at OTS. Fangio praised him for how he's adjusting, and he's already getting first-team reps. And then there's McCollum and Sam, both guys who've been around the program and are pushing to earn a role. Andre Sam is a former undrafted free agent out of LSU who's quietly climbed the depth chart, and coaches have taken a liking to him. It's going to come down to training camp and preseason games to determine who grabs that starting role opposite Blankenship, but it's a legit four-way battle right now. As for the linebackers, things are getting interesting. With Jihad Campbell not practicing yet and Nakobe Dean still recovering from that patella tendon injury, the first team reps at inside linebacker have gone to Zach Bond and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and honestly, that's probably your week one. Pairing right there when the Eagles kick things off against the Cowboys on Thursday, September 5th. Dean's timetable is still unclear. Fangio said it's going to be a while, and we know how tricky those knee injuries can be. It affects the quad, the knee, the whole kinetic chain. Dean has said his recovery is ahead of schedule, but this is one of those injuries you just can't rush. If you re-injure that area, it could sideline you for the season. Campbell, as we said, won't be active until August at the earliest, which puts him behind the curve. Remember, Dean didn't start until week 6 last year because of an injury, and he had a full off-season program up until that point. So realistically, we're looking at Bond and Trotter Jr. getting the lion's share of reps early on. And that's not a bad thing, especially for Trotter, who's looked solid so far in team drills. Flipping over to the offensive line for a moment. The right guard position looks like it's Tyler Steen's job to lose. The Eagles used a third-round pick on him a couple of drafts ago, and with Cam Jurgens solidified at center, Steen has been getting the first-team reps throughout. OTS. He's big, he's strong, and he's learning fast. Last year, the Eagles had a mauler at that spot in Sua Opeta, but he's now with the Chargers, and Steen is getting his shot. Jordan Davis is another name who's popped during OTAs, not just for his play, but for the shape he's in. Fangio said he's in the best condition of his career, and Davis himself admitted he's become obsessed with Peloton. Yeah, you heard that, right? Big man on a bike, grinding it out. He said it all started late last season when he realized he was too heavy and that it was showing in his face. Vanity, he joked, was the motivator, but the results speak for themselves. He's slimmer, quicker, and the tape from late last year shows it. In the playoffs, his PFF grade was outstanding, 86.8 overall, second among defensive tackles. And his pass rush grade, a ridiculous 90. That's third best in the entire postseason. The run defense still needs improvement, but if Davis can maintain this level of conditioning, he could take that next step and become the dominant 3-down player the Eagles envisioned when they drafted him. And speaking of guys looking to take the next step, let's talk about Nolan Smith. This is a guy who tore his triceps during the Super Bowl. Yeah, not exactly the kind of memory you want to carry from the biggest game of your life. But when asked about it, he had the perfect response. He said, if it meant winning the Super Bowl, he'd tear that triceps again. That tells you everything you need to know about his mindset. Now he's back on the field, working through rehab with this massive brace strapped to his arm. And he's already said he expects to start striking again with that arm sometime next week. That's quick progress, and it speaks volumes about the work he's put in during the offseason. Nolan also met with the media and got a little emotional when talking about Brandon Graham. He said BG helped him navigate every part of his rookie year, both on and off the field. There's actually a message that BG wrote for Nolan that he keeps taped to his mirror at home. It's just one word, BU, short for BU. Simple, but powerful. And it's a perfect reflection of the kind of player and person Brandon Graham has always been. That mentorship clearly meant a lot to Nolan. And now, with BG retired, Smith is being asked to step into more of a leadership role. The crazy part is that he's not even a full year removed from being a rookie himself. But the coaches and the locker room already see him as someone who can fill those shoes. Personality-wise, he's got that same energy, always smiling, always positive, and bringing that motor every single snap. The comparison to BG is more than just talk. You see it in how he carries himself and how he plays. Now it's about turning that energy into production. Let's pivot for a second to the quarterback spot, because we have to talk about Jalen Hurts. If you've been following along, you already know Hurts had a phenomenal season, capped off by that Super Bowl MVP performance. But what's really catching attention this offseason is how sharp he's looked during OTAs. The numbers speak for themselves. 35 completions on 38, throws through 3 practices, no interceptions, no fumbles, and absolute command of the offense. The coaching staff has been rotating players around him, and for most of the work, Hurts hasn't even had his top weapons. No A.J. Brown, no Devonta Smith. He's been running with backups, and it hasn't mattered. His best throw of the most recent practice came on a dime to Dallas Goedert, dropping it in over the shoulder for a gain of over 30 yards. Tight coverage, no separation, just a perfect ball placed where only the tight end could get it. And that's the thing. Hurts used to be criticized for holding onto the ball too long or hesitating when the window wasn't wide open. That's not the case anymore. He's confident, decisive, and surgical in how he goes through his reads. One reporter said the ball rarely hits the ground during practice. That's not just rare, that's elite. The growth is undeniable. Early on in his career, Hurts was known for his legs and his leadership. Now he's becoming one of the most efficient passers in the league. That's development, that's reps, that's film study, and you can see that the game has slowed down for him. He doesn't flinch under pressure. He knows where his guys are going to be, and he delivers with anticipation. This version of Jalen Hurts is the one that can keep the Eagles in Super Bowl contention year after year. Meanwhile, another name made headlines for a completely different reason: Saquon Barkley. Not because of a trade or a contract dispute, but because he's officially the cover athlete for Madden 26. The image? That now iconic hurdle over the Jacksonville Jaguars defender. Classic Saquon. Of course, the question came up about the so-called Madden curse, and Saquon didn't hesitate. He said he doesn't believe in curses. He believes in God. And after everything he's gone through, injuries, setbacks, media noise, you get the sense that this cover means something deeper to him. It's a symbol that he's back, and he's still one of the most electrifying players in the league. Now let's swing back to the defensive line, because there's been a little buzz around Jaylen Carter. Not for his play, which has been dominant, but for some comments made by Jeremiah Trotter Sr. on local radio. Trotter said he's hearing from inside the building that while Carter is an incredible talent, he still doesn't fully understand how to play the position. That right now he's getting by on pure ability. When Fangio was asked about it, he didn't shy away. He said there's some truth to that. And you know what? That's okay. Because if Carter can be that disruptive purely off instinct, just imagine what happens when he masters technique and leverage. Carter responded to those comments by saying he's focused on becoming more of a leader and more complete as a player. He's not ducking criticism. He's embracing it and using it as motivation. And that's what you want from a young cornerstone piece. This guy has sky-high potential. He was already one of the best interior linemen in the NFL last year, and if he can make another jump this season, the Eagles' defense will be terrifying. While we're here, let's go ahead and give some love to Reed Blankenship. Quietly, he's become one of the most reliable players on this Eagles defense. No flash, no drama, just consistent, solid football every week. He doesn't always get the national attention, but his instincts, his tackling, and his leadership make him one of the most underrated defenders in the league. And that's why the competition for the safety spot next to him is so critical. Whoever wins that role is going to have to complement Reed's game without compromising the scheme. Whether it's Sidney Brown bringing the fire, Mukuba offering coverage versatility, or Andre Sam carving out a late career breakout, that position battle is going to be one of the most fascinating storylines to watch during camp. Vic Fangio, also, touched on something really important about the linebacker room, and that's the absence of Nakobe Dean. There's still no firm timeline for his return, and Fangio was honest in saying it might take a while. Dean's dealing with a tricky knee issue, a patella tendon injury, and those can be brutal. It's not just about range of motion or strength, it's about reconditioning the entire lower body to trust that joint again. Dean has said he's ahead of schedule, which is encouraging, but the team is clearly being cautious. And they should be. If he rushes back too soon and re-injures that knee, he could miss the whole year. So with Dean sidelined and Campbell out until August, the early reps are going to Zach Bond and Jeremiah Trotter Jr., and based on what we've seen, they're holding it down. The Trotter Jr. in particular is showing why the Eagles were so high on him coming out of Clemson. He's got great football IQ, which you'd expect being the son of a former All-Pro linebacker, but he's also got the athleticism to match. He's fluid in coverage and plays with a ton of energy. Bound, on the other hand, brings the physical edge. He's aggressive downhill, sets a strong edge, and gives the unit a veteran presence. If the Eagles have to roll into week 1 with those two as their starters, it might not be ideal. But it's not a liability either. It's a work in progress, and honestly, a lot of great defenses are built in camp, not on paper. Let's circle back to that right guard battle for a second. Tyler Steen is definitely in the driver's seat. He's been taking all the first team reps, and the coaches are giving him every opportunity to claim that job. Last season, the Eagles rotated a bit at that spot, but with Opeta gone, it's time to find stability. Steen's got the size, the power, and the technique, and you can tell he's been putting in the work. He's not just going through the motions, he's competing. And when you got a quarterback like Jalen Hurts behind you, protecting that pocket becomes personal. Steen knows what's at stake. Finally, one last detail from OTAs that really stood out. Just how locked in this entire team is. From the rookies trying to make their mark to the vets setting the tone, there's a sense of urgency and unity that you don't always see in June. No one's coasting. No one's mailing it in. Everyone knows what's expected. This is what a championship culture looks like. And as we inch closer to training camp, one thing's becoming clearer and clearer. This Eagles team isn't satisfied with just one ring. They want more. They're hungry, they're deeper, they're sharper, and they've got unfinished business. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are stirring across the NFL as a startling claim from Mac McWilliams, the talented defensive end, has sent shockwaves through the Philadelphia Eagles fan base. In a recent off-the-cuff remark that's quickly become the talk of their town, McWilliams reportedly expressed deep regret about his decision to join the Eagles, calling it his worst choice. The statement, which some insiders say was made during a private interview, has ignited a wave of speculation and intrigue about his future with the team. Mac McWilliams, once hailed as a promising addition to Philadelphia's defensive line, has been a key figure in the Eagles' defensive scheme since his arrival. Yet this unexpected expression of remorse suggests that all might not be well behind the scenes. Could it be frustration with the organization's direction, the coaching, staff, or perhaps the pressures of playing under the intense spotlight in Philadelphia? The exact reasons remain murky, but the implication that McWilliams feels his move was a misstep has left fans and analysts alike buzzing. Rumors are swirling that this discontent could pave the way for a potential trade or even a request for release. Teams around the league might now be eyeing the situation closely, eager to scoop up a player of McWilliams' caliber should he become available. Given the fierce competition for elite defensive talent, his apparent unhappiness might signal a rare opportunity for contenders to bolster their rosters mid-season or in the next offseason. The Eagles front office has remained tight-lipped, refusing to comment directly on McWilliams' candid remarks. Still, sources hint at ongoing internal discussions about how best to handle the situation without disrupting team chemistry. Philadelphia has been pushing hard for a playoff run, and the sudden uncertainty surrounding one of their defensive stalwarts could complicate those ambitions. This revelation also opens the door to broader questions about the culture within the Eagles organization. Is McWilliams' regret an isolated failing, or does it reflect a deeper dissatisfaction among players? Conversations among insiders suggest that while the Eagles have a passionate fan base and a strong team, the pressures and expectations might weigh heavily on certain players, especially those adjusting to the team's high demands. As the rumor mill churns, one thing is clear: Matt McWilliams' statement has stirred a storm. Whether this will lead to a dramatic shakeup or simply fade, as a moment of frustration remains to be seen. For now, the Eagles' locker room is under the microscope, and all eyes will be on McWilliams to see if he doubles down on his words or attempts to mend fences. In the high-stakes world of professional football, moves like these, whether whispered or shouted, often precede significant changes. Philadelphia fans will be watching closely, hoping that their star defender finds a way to rekindle his passion for the green and white before any permanent decisions are made. The coming weeks could be crucial in determining the future trajectory of both Mac McWilliams and the Eagles organization. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.